Okay, so today we're diving into a book that I think a lot of people have probably heard of, even if they haven't actually read it.
Yeah,
It's The Richest Man in Babylon.
by George S. Clason.
George S. Clason, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this book, it was actually published way back in the 1920s.
Yeah.
And it takes us back to, well, ancient Babylon,
Right.
like
Oh, wait.
the cradle of civilization.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
OG, yeah, exactly. But, what's really interesting is that this book, it's full of this, like, financial wisdom that still feels surprisingly relevant today. Like, even though it's, almost 100 years old,
Yeah. I totally agree.
it's like these principles, they haven't really changed. It's almost like,
It's timeless.
yeah, like gravity or something.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I think what makes Clason's book so powerful is that it takes these kind of timeless financial principles and he illustrates them through these really engaging stories, these parables set in ancient Babylon.
Yeah.
And it's so accessible. I mean, the Los Angeles Times even said once that, like, someone completely baffled by finance could understand it.
Yeah. And I think even for those of us who, feel like we have a decent grasp of personal finance, it's still a really valuable read, I think, just as a reminder of these core ideas.
Absolutely. And at its heart, Clason's message is, like, pretty straightforward, right? He's basically saying that money is, in a very practical sense, is how we measure success, right, in this world.
Yeah.
And it's what allows us to experience, like, all the good stuff life has to offer.
Exactly.
Here's the key insight, right? He's not saying that money is like this limited resource that only a lucky few can get their hands on. What he's actually arguing is that wealth is abundant and it's available to anyone who is willing to, really understand and apply these simple rules of acquiring it. And these rules, like you said, they've been around for a long time.
Yeah, like thousands of years.
Thousands of years, yeah.
So in this deep dive, we really want to unpack some of these principles, right? Like extract that essential wisdom so that you, the listener, can, hopefully take it and apply it to your own life, move away from that, what the book calls that lean purse.
Yeah.
And start making some, genuine financial progress.
I love that lean purse. It's so evocative.
Yeah, it is. It is. So the book opens with this, this really relatable scenario, right? We meet Bansir. He's this hardworking chariot builder.
Okay.
And his friend, Kobe, is a talented musician.
Makes sense.
And they're both living in Babylon, and they're putting in, like, serious effort every day, right? Bansir's toiling away at his chariots. Kobe's, filling the city with music. But at the end of the day, their purses are, like, totally empty. And they're frustrated.
They're like, what gives?
Yeah. Like, why isn't all this hard work paying off, know?
Correct.
And then they contrast their situation with this guy named Arkad.
Okay.
And Arkad is like this almost legendary figure in Babylon. He's considered the richest man in the entire city.
Wow.
So wealthy that even the king, like, seeks his advice on matters of the royal treasury.
Wow.
Yeah. And the book makes it clear that, like, Arkad's wealth, it didn't happen by accident, right? It's not just some lucky break. It's the direct result of him, like, understanding and applying these fundamental principles for building wealth.
Okay.
And then we have this, like, pivotal moment where Bansir and Kobe actually confront Arkad. They're old friends. They grew up together, and they basically ask him, look, what's the difference between you and us? Why are you living this life of, like, comfort and ease while we're still, struggling to make ends meet?
Right. Yeah. It's a good question.
Yeah, it is. And Arkad's response is, like, really interesting. He doesn't say, oh, well, fate just wasn't on your side, or luck just wasn't in the cards for you.
Yeah.
He's pretty direct. He basically says, look, if you haven't managed to acquire more than just, the bare minimum to survive, it's because you either haven't learned these basic laws of building wealth or you've simply chosen not to follow them.
He doesn't mince words.
No, he doesn't. And he's even, like, critical of this whole idea of fate, right?
Yeah.
He sees it as this kind of destructive mindset that often leads people to either waste any unearned money they get, or become, like, overly fearful and miserly with what little they have.
Yeah, that's interesting. So he's really emphasizing personal agency, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's about taking control,
like you're responsible
of your own financial destiny.
Yeah, I like that.
Now, in the book, they talk about how we all have these aspirations, right? Things we want to do, experiences we desire, And Arkad, he understood that wealth, it's not just about having stuff. It's about having the means to actually pursue those things.
It brings a certain kind of power, right?
Yeah, exactly. It opens doors.
Opens doors to, a comfortable home, the ability to travel,
Yeah.
Maybe indulge in good food,
Mhm.
even contribute to like the construction of a temple or something.
Yeah, contribute to the community.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
And he also makes the point about time, right? He says, look, we all have the same 24 hours in a day.
Hmm.
And his friends had allowed enough time to pass that they could have become wealthy themselves. But they just, they hadn't prioritized figuring out how to do it.
Right.
Arcad made a deliberate decision to unlock these secrets of wealth building, and then committed himself to actually putting those ideas into practice.
Yeah. I mean, he didn't start out wealthy, right?
No, not at all. In fact, he takes on this job as a scribe, right?
Okay.
Painstakingly working on those clay tablets, long hours, day after day, month after month. And what did he have to show for it?
Yeah.
Not much. Pretty much all of his earnings went straight to covering his basic needs. Food, clothing, offerings to the gods, right? But his determination to learn the secrets of wealth, that never wavered.
He kept his eye on the prize.
Yeah, he did. And this leads to this really significant meeting that he has with Algamish, who's this money lender in the city.
The money lender.
Yeah. And the city master actually hires Arcad to do this urgent task, right? He needs to copy a law tablet quickly.
Okay.
And Arcad, he sees this as an opportunity, right? So he boldly offers to work through the night to complete the task.
Wow.
But in exchange, he wants Algamish to share his secret to becoming rich.
That's a pretty bold move.
Yeah, it is. It shows his proactive approach to learning.
He's not afraid to ask.
No, he's not. And Algamish, his initial advice, it's surprisingly simple, almost deceptively so. He looks at Arcad and says, "You pay to everyone but yourself."
That's interesting.
Yeah, right. I mean, on the surface, it sounds obvious.
Yeah.
But when you really stop and think about it, where does your paycheck actually go each month?
Right.
How much of it are you actually, setting aside for your own future financial security?
Yeah, it really makes you think.
Yeah, it's a fundamental question.
Yeah. So Algamish, he kind of elaborates on this point, right? He asks Arcad, what do you have to show for your earnings from last month? What about the earnings from the past year? And he's basically pointing out that if you're only working for other people, you're essentially like a slave to them.
Yeah.
And then he asks this really powerful question. If you did keep for yourself 1/10 of all you earn, how much would you have in 10 years?
Wow.
That really gets to the heart of it, right?
Yeah.
That power of compounding over time.
Yeah, it is. And then Algamish uses this great analogy. He says that saving a portion of your income consistently is like nurturing a young tree.
Okay.
And the more consistently you save, the sooner you reach this point where you can relax and enjoy this feeling of financial contentment.
That's a nice image.
Yeah, it is. It is. So Arcad decides to actually try this out. Every time he gets paid, he sets aside 1 out of every 10 copper pieces that he earns. And the interesting thing is he barely notices the difference in his day-to-day life, He finds that he can still live comfortably enough on that remaining 9/10 of his income.
Okay, so the key here isn't just saving any amount. It's making sure you prioritize paying yourself first.
Yeah, that's right. Even if it's a small amount, it's that shift in mindset.
Yeah, who are your earnings primarily for?
Exactly. Now, as Arcad's, little stash starts to grow, he starts to feel the temptation. All those enticing goods and services being offered by the merchants in Babylon.
Yeah.
But he consciously resists that urge to spend the money that he saved.
Discipline, right?
Yeah. And then about a year later, Algamish, he comes back to check on Arcad's progress.
Okay.
And he asks, have you been saving your 10th?
Keeping up with it.
Yeah. And Arcad's like, yeah, I have. And then comes the second and arguably more important question.
Okay.
Algamish asks, what have you done with it?
Good question.
And this is where Arcad makes his first, major mistake.
Uh-oh.
He invested his savings with Asmore, a brickmaker, who told him he was going to travel to Tyre, buy all these rare and valuable jewels, and then come back to Babylon and sell them for a huge profit.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
That sounds risky.
It does, doesn't it? And Algamish's reaction is, very blunt, very insightful. He basically says, every fool has to learn their own lessons, but why in the world would you trust a brickmaker to know anything about jewels?
Yeah.
right? He's like, would you consult a baker about the movements of the stars?
Right.
No, of
Yeah.
course not. You'd go to an astrologer.
An expert, yeah.
An expert, exactly. He tells Arkad, look, your savings are probably gone.
Oh.
He compares it to like uprooting a young sapling.
Mm-hmm.
But then he gives him this really crucial advice. He says, plant another. Try again. But next time, if you're looking for advice about jewels, go and speak to a reputable jewel merchant.
Mm-hmm.
If you need guidance on sheep, seek out a knowledgeable herdsman.
That makes sense.
He's saying advice itself might be free,
Mm-hmm.
but make sure you're getting it from someone who actually knows what they're talking about.
Yeah, seek out real expertise in the area that you're dealing with.
Exactly, exactly. And of course, just as Algamish predicted, the Phoenicians, who he refers to as scoundrels, they end up selling us nothing but worthless pieces of colored glass.
Oh.
So Arkad's initial savings, they're gone. But that habit of saving 1/10, that's still firmly in place, so he just keeps at it.
Keeps going.
Yeah. Plant another, as Algamish had said.
Okay, I like that.
Another year passes, and Algamish returns again to check on Arkad.
They're checking in.
He's checking in, yeah. And this time, Arkad has been, diligently saving his 10th.
Oh, yeah.
And he's made a different kind of investment. He provided bronze to Agar, who is a shield maker.
Okay.
And Agar is paying Arkad a rental fee for the use of that metal.
So his money is making money.
Yeah, it is.
That's good.
But then Algamish asks about the income from this rental.
Okay.
And Arkad kind of sheepishly admits that he's been spending it, indulging in feasts, buying a fancy tunic, even starting to dream about owning a donkey.
Oh, no. He's back to his old ways.
He's slipping back into those patterns, yeah. And Algamish, he says this really great line. He's like, you are, in effect, eating the children of your savings.
Wow.
And he explains it. He's like, if you consume the income that your savings generate, how do you expect them to grow and work even harder for you? And how can they then have their own children that will also work to generate even more wealth?
Mm-hmm.
So he's emphasizing the importance of reinvesting those earnings,
Right.
building that army of golden slaves, as he calls it.
Yeah, I like that. Those income-producing assets.
Yeah, exactly. And then, you can afford to enjoy those banquets and,
Without the guilt.
Without the guilt, yeah. So Algamish, he sees the progress that Arkad has made. He's shown that he can live on less. He's learned to seek out good advice. And now he's starting to understand how to make his gold actually work for him.
Right. He's starting to get it.
Yeah, and this leads to a, pretty significant reward for Arkad.
Okay.
Algamish actually offers him a partnership.
Wow, that's huge.
Yeah, entrusting him with the management of his lands in Nippur.
So he's recognizing his competence.
Exactly, yeah. And Arkad, he reflects on this whole idea of luck, which, his friends had brought up at the beginning.
Yeah.
And he clarifies that it wasn't just some stroke of good fortune that made him wealthy.
Right.
It was his own persistent desire to prosper. And that discipline of saving that 1/10 of his earnings.
The consistent effort.
Yeah. And he draws this parallel to a skilled fisherman, right? Who studies the habits of fish. It's not just luck that allows him to cast his net successfully.
Yeah.
He's put in the work to understand where the fish are and how to catch them.
So opportunity favors the prepared.
Yeah, exactly. And then the book, it gives this really interesting perspective on willpower.
Okay.
One of Arkad's friends suggests that he must have this exceptional willpower.
To have stuck with it.
To have stuck with it, yeah. Especially after losing those initial savings.
Yeah.
But Arkad, he's like, no. Willpower isn't this, superhuman strength. It's just the unwavering commitment to complete a task that you've set for yourself.
That makes sense.
And he gives this really practical example.
Yeah.
He talks about deciding to pick up a pebble every day for 100 days.
Okay.
And if he happens to forget on the 7th day, he immediately goes back and picks it up. Okay. So it's about building that sense of self-confidence and accomplishment through consistent action, even in small things.
Even if it seems insignificant.
Yeah. And he's also careful not to set herself unrealistic or overly burdensome tasks,
Yeah.
He still values his leisure time.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, exactly. Now, one of the other friends raises this really interesting question.
Okay.
He's like, okay, but what if everyone in Babylon started saving 1/10 of their income? Wouldn't there eventually be a shortage of wealth?
Right. Where would all that money go?
Yeah, it's a valid concern.
Yeah.
And Arkad's answer is quite insightful, I think.
All right.
He explains that wealth isn't this fixed pie with like a limited number of slices.
All right.
It actually grows as people, exert their energy and apply their skills.
Okay.
He uses this concrete example of like a wealthy individual commissioning the construction of a grand palace, right?
Okay.
The money that they spend, it doesn't just disappear. It flows to the brickmaker, the laborer, the artist, and so on.
It circulates.
Yeah, and when the palace is finally finished,
Yeah.
it's undeniably worth all the resources and effort that went into it, right?
Right.
And the land around it often becomes more valuable just because it's near this, like, magnificent structure.
It increases the overall value.
Exactly, yeah. He argues that wealth has this capacity to grow in these, like, almost magical ways, and there isn't a real fixed limit to its potential expansion.
Okay.
And he points to the flourishing Phoenician cities built through, trade and commerce as a prime example.
Right, yeah.
Which ties into this whole dilemma that the king faces later in the book.
Going.
Babylon's been through this period of significant prosperity. They've got these impressive public works projects, extensive irrigation canals, visible wealth and progress. The average citizen of Babylon still lacks personal savings of gold.
Oh,
It's become concentrated in the hands of a relatively small number of individuals who know how to acquire it and manage it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And the king, he recognizes this imbalance, right?
Yeah.
He asks, why is it that only a few men in our prosperous city seem capable of acquiring and holding on to gold?
Yeah, good question.
And the wise chancellor, he responds, because, Your Majesty, they possess the knowledge and understanding of how to do so.
Makes sense.
And he makes this point about fairness, right?
Okay.
You can't condemn someone for achieving success through their knowledge and skills.
Right.
And you can't ethically just take what they've earned and redistribute it to those who may be less capable or less informed.
Yeah, it's about, like, leveling the playing field in terms of knowledge.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. But the king, he's determined to address this situation, right?
Yeah.
He wants Babylon to become the wealthiest city in the world.
That's ambitious.
It is, and he understands that this requires a broad base of financial well-being, meaning a city with lots of individuals who have their own personal wealth.
A wealthy populace.
Exactly, yeah. So he turns to Arkad and asks, is there a secret to acquiring wealth? And can this knowledge be taught?
What does Arkad say?
Well, Arkad's response is pretty encouraging.
Okay.
He's like, yes, Your Majesty, this is a practical body of knowledge,
Yeah.
and it can definitely be taught.
Okay.
So the king is pleased, and he immediately appoints Arkad to this, like, crucial mission
Okay.
to teach the 7 cures for a lean purse.
7 cures.
7 cures, yeah, to an initial group of 100 men.
Okay.
And these men would then be responsible for spreading that knowledge throughout Babylon.
Like training the trainers.
Yeah, exactly.
I like it.
So this brings us to the heart of the book's advice, the famous 7 cures for a lean purse.
Okay.
Now, we've already talked about the first one, right?
Yeah, start thy purse to fattening.
That's right. The principle of saving at least 1/10 of everything you earn. Arkad emphasizes not only the tangible effect of seeing your savings grow,
Yeah.
but also the psychological satisfaction that comes with knowing that you're building a foundation for the future.
Right.
So the second cure is control thy expenditures,
Okay.
which is basically budgeting.
Budgeting, yeah.
But Arkad makes it clear that a budget isn't meant to be this like restrictive or joyless thing.
Okay.
It's about making sure you have enough to cover your needs,
Your necessities.
enjoy some pleasures,
Yeah.
and pursue your worthwhile desires, all while staying within that remaining 9/10 of your income.
So it's like a tool, right?
Yeah, he compares it to like a guiding light in a dark cave.
Okay.
It helps you see where your money is going so you can identify those unnecessary expenses.
Plug the leaks.
Yeah, plug the leaks and redirect your spending towards the things that you truly value.
Yeah, that's a good analogy.
Yeah, I think so too. And then the third cure is make thy gold multiply.
Okay, that sounds interesting.
Yeah, this is all about investing,
Investing, yeah.
putting your savings to work.
Okay.
Arkad points out that gold just sitting in a purse, it doesn't do anything.
It's inert.
It's inert, yeah. To really grow your wealth, you have to put it to work in a way that generates more income.
Right.
And he uses this example of the gold lender,
Okay.
whose initial investment multiplied 17 times over 50 years,
Wow.
just through rental income.
So through rentals, yeah.
Yeah,
So it's not just about lending, it's about putting your money in places where it can earn a return.
exactly. Yeah, like those golden slaves having their own golden slave children.
Yeah, I like that.
And so on.
Right. The power of compounding.
Yeah, exactly. The fourth cure is a big one.
Okay.
Guard thy treasures from loss.
That sounds important.
It is. It is. It's about protecting what you've worked hard to earn.
Yeah.
Because as the book points out, misfortune seems to target those who have accumulated some wealth.
Oh, that's interesting.
So you have to be diligent in protecting it. And Arcad advises, like, starting with securing small amounts first
Okay.
and learning how to protect them before you try to handle larger sums.
Makes sense. Start small.
Yeah, yeah. And he stresses the importance of verifying a borrower's ability to repay before you lend them any money.
Do your due diligence.
Yeah, and their reputation for financial responsibility.
Yeah.
And he also cautions against investing in things that you don't fully understand
Yeah.
without seeking advice from experts.
Like he learned the hard way.
He did with those jewels.
Yeah.
So ensuring the safety of your principal is paramount.
Protects your investment.
Yeah, exactly. Now, the fifth cure is make of thy dwelling a profitable investment.
Okay.
And this is all about home ownership.
Owning a home.
Owning a home, yeah. Arcad argues that if you can afford to do so, owning your own home is generally a wise move.
Okay.
Instead of continually paying rent, which is an ongoing expense, you're investing in an asset that has the potential to increase in value over time.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And he also emphasizes the importance of providing a stable and comfortable home environment for your family,
Yeah,
for their well-being.
that's a good point.
Yeah. The sixth cure is ensure a future income.
Okay, so thinking long term?
Long term, yeah.
Yeah.
This is about planning for your future financial needs.
Retirement.
Yeah, or unexpected events.
Emergencies.
Yeah. Arcad advises everyone to think about these potential needs and make secure investments or provisions that will endure.
To be there when you need them.
Yeah, exactly. He even talks about insuring against death,
Boy.
recognizing its potential value for families even though formal insurance mechanisms weren't really a thing back then.
Right.
He envisions a system where, many people contribute small amounts regularly to create a safety net for those who might pass away prematurely.
Interesting, like a communal safety net.
Yeah, like that. And then finally, the seventh cure is increase thy ability to earn.
Okay.
This one focuses on personal and professional development.
Continuously improving yourself.
Exactly, yeah. Arcad stresses the need to, cultivate your skills, seek out new knowledge, stay informed in your field.
To stay competitive.
Yeah, to stay competitive and increase your earning potential. He also includes other important principles under this umbrella, like paying debts promptly, taking care of your family.
Making a will.
Making a will, yeah, and having compassion for others.
So it's really a holistic view.
Yeah, it's not just about the money itself, it's about
your character.
Yeah, your character and your approach to life.
Yeah, I like that.
Now, the book also delves into this really interesting concept of goddess of good luck.
The goddess of good luck.
Yeah. It explores how the Babylonians viewed luck and fortune through these discussions that they had at the Temple of Learning.
The Temple of Learning.
Yeah, which sounds like a pretty fascinating place, right?
It does.
Like a center for open debate and intellectual exchange where even slaves could, challenge the opinions of princes and noble.
Yeah, that's very progressive for the time.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? And the main debate centers around this question. Can you actually attract good luck?
Okay.
Some people believe in gambling, hoping the goddess will smile upon them at the gaming tables.
Right, hoping for that lucky break.
That lucky break, yeah. But the prevailing wisdom seems to be that tripping to win against rigged odds is not a sustainable path to prosperity.
Yeah, it's a gamble.
Literally, yeah.
Literally a gamble.
The focus then shifts to this idea of recognizing and acting upon missed opportunities.
Okay.
So real good luck, the kind that leads to lasting success,
Hmm.
It's often within reach, but it slips away because we don't see it or we don't act on it.
We missed the chance.
They miss the chance, yeah. And the book shares some stories to illustrate this.
Okay.
There's this elderly merchant who, in his youth, his father gave him this wise advice. Save 1/10 of your earnings and invest it.
Yeah.
But he ignored that advice. and later regretted it.
When he realized how much wealth he could have had?
Exactly, yeah. And then there's this desert nomad who believes that good luck favors those who take action when opportunity presents itself.
You have to seize the moment.
Yeah, you do. And he makes the point that building wealth, it always starts somewhere, no matter how small the initial amount is.
You have to start somewhere.
Yeah, you do. And there's also this, like, really instructive tale of the animal buyer.
Okay.
He had this chance to buy a flock of sheep at a great price,
Okay.
but he procrastinated on making a small partial payment to secure the deal.
Uh-oh.
And he ended up losing out because other buyers came in and bought the entire flock.
Oh, no.
Yeah. And the Syrian observer in the story, he sums it up nicely.
Okay.
He says, opportunity flees from those who.